Hello there. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another My English School webinar. My name is Andre, as you can see on the screen, somewhere there. Yeah, right there. And originally, I'm from Barbados. Some of you might already know me from previous webinars. But for those who are now joining us, again, my name is Andre, and I'm from a small island called Barbados in the Caribbean. So I've left a small island of sun and sea to come and live in a city like Rome, a metropolitan city, very historic, very beautiful, and I love being here in Rome as well, and in Italy in general. So I hope everyone is doing well. I know a lot of you are home at the moment, staying safe and practicing physical distancing from each other. Of course, the COVID-19 or coronavirus is a very big situation at the moment and has changed our lives dramatically. But the best thing to do is to stay safe, think of others, make sure you keep your distance, and of course, let's help fight this situation together. So as we continue to keep you in the loop, and keep you busy and encouraged to learn English, let's look at this particular focus activity. We're looking at focus activity 8 to 10, and this one is called hobbies. So hobbies, things you love doing in your free time, things you do that excites you or interests you. So those are your hobbies. So let's begin. In this focus activity, we're going to be describing a hobby, present perfect continuous, for and since. I know a lot of you guys have difficulty understanding the present perfect continuous because you don't really use it in Italian. So we're going to be describing the present perfect continuous, describing a hobby, and using for and since when talking about the present perfect and the present perfect continuous. So first one, hobbies. Let's answer these questions. So number one, what is your current hobby? When did you decide to take it up? Number two, do you tend to start a lot of hobbies but get bored quickly? Number three, are there any activities you used to do but don't do anymore? And why did you stop? Number four, are you an adrenaline junkie? So we've got some interesting vocabulary here as well. I'll be going through the vocabulary with you. So the first question, let's look at it. So what is your current hobby? When did you decide to take it up? So let's look at the first part of the question. So what is your current hobby? Hi, Christina. Welcome. Oh, I'm from Rome as well. Not from Rome, but living in Rome. Good. Excellent. Hi. So Christina, what is your current hobby? For me, my current hobby is gardening. So I've been doing a lot more gardening now that I'm home on my balcony. I don't have a big garden, I have a balcony. So at this moment, my hobby is gardening on my balcony. So I bought some flowers, bought some new plants, and it's a way to also relax during this period. So my current hobby is gardening. What is yours, Christina? What is your current hobby? And by current, we mean what are you doing now in this period? That's what current means. So what is your current hobby? I'm interested to find out what you've been doing during this time. Something that's been exciting, that's been interesting for you, that you do regularly. Yeah? Any hobbies you've taken up recently that you're doing currently? Okay, I'll give you some time to respond, but let's continue. So the first part of the question I answered, my current hobby is gardening. Now let's look at the second part of the question. When did you decide to take it up? So here we have a phrasal verb. We've got take it up or take up because the subject interrupts the part of the two parts of the phrasal verb. So we've got take, and we've got subject, and then we've got up. Well, the object, sorry. So we've got take, the object, and then up. My bad. So take up is a phrasal verb. It means to start something, to begin something. So for me, I took up. So we use the past form, took up, because the past tense of take is took. So I took up gardening 2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago. So I took up gardening about 2 weeks ago. So my current hobby is gardening, and I took it up 2 weeks ago. So that's my answer to that question. If you guys want to answer it, you can as well. Now let's look at number two. Do you tend to start a lot of hobbies but get bored quickly? So do you tend to start a lot of hobbies but get bored quickly? Well, tend is something that is, is usual. So do you usually start a lot of hobbies but get bored quickly? So instead of usually, we can use tend to. So it's another form of usually or normally. So we can use tend to. So do you tend to start a lot of hobbies but get bored quickly? Well, for me, I don't start a lot of hobbies at one time. I don't tend to start a lot of hobbies at one time. Normally, I take up one hobby and I work on that hobby. So I don't tend to start a lot of hobbies. No, I don't tend to start a lot of hobbies. And that in that sense, I don't get bored quickly. So I don't start a lot of hobbies one time, and therefore I don't get bored quickly. I usually start one hobby. I tend to start one hobby, but I don't get bored easily. Hi, Daniela. Welcome. So my current hobby, she says, is doing yoga. Excellent. It's a good time to do yoga, to relax and to stretch the body. Yeah. So she took it up 5 years ago. Excellent. Good. Christina says she doesn't have a hobby. Okay. So in this period, I'm studying English, watching films, and I'm eating healthy food. Good for you. So that's a hobby for you as well. Studying English is a hobby as well in this period. Good. Excellent. Very good, Danielle and Christina. Cool. So, as I said, for me, I don't tend to start a lot of hobbies. So it doesn't bother me. I love to garden in this moment, and I'm not bored of gardening. What about you guys? So do you start a lot of hobbies and do you get bored quickly with all of these hobbies? Or are you excited about them? So do you start one hobby or do you start many hobbies at one time? And if so, do you get bored quickly? Do you get annoyed and bored quickly with those hobbies? There's some people who get very annoyed and bored because they constantly need to do something new. There are people like that. They always have to do something new or many things together to keep the excitement. But for me, one hobby is good for me. I don't mind. Alrighty, so let's look at question 3. Are there any activities you used to do but don't do anymore? Why did you stop? So this one is asking about activities you did in the past that you did normally or continuously in the past. And in that sense, we use used to. Used to refers to something you did regularly in the past, but you don't anymore. It all's finished in the past. So are there any activities you used to do but don't do anymore? And why did you stop? Good. But before that question, Daniela answered the second question. She says, yes, I tend to start a lot of hobbies. I get bored quickly. Oh, you're one of those people. But when I find something I really love, I don't stop doing it. Right. So you don't stop doing it, not don't stop to do it. I don't stop doing it. You have to use the ing form. Good. Excellent. Very good. So you take up a lot of hobbies because you get bored quickly. But when you start or find something that you love to do, then you don't stop doing it. Excellent. Very good. Christina says, in general, she gets bored quickly. I know how you feel. Sometimes it depends on what I'm doing. Maybe I take up a hobby and I don't like it, so then I find something else. But generally, for me, I don't get bored quickly. If I have one hobby, I tend to continue with it, especially if I'm very interested in it. So number three, we were asking, are there any activities you used to do but don't do anymore, and why did you stop? Okay, this is a good question for me because there have been many activities that I used to do in Barbados, in my country. I used to create music. I used to produce music in Barbados, and that was one of my hobbies. So I used to, remember past, I used to produce music, yeah, but now I don't. I don't anymore because I don't have the facilities and I don't have the equipment to really do production, music production. And a lot of my time is taken up teaching as well, so I don't have the time either to do it. But music production, I used to do music production, but now I don't anymore. And that's because, of course, I moved to another country and I have a job that requires a lot of my time, so I don't have the time to do the music production and a lot of other hobbies I did in the past. But now that I'm home, the hobby that I've taken up is gardening and I enjoy it a lot. Good. So what about you guys? Are there any activities you used to do in the past, but you don't do anymore? And why did you stop doing those activities or that activity? Christina says, I would like to do a lot of things, but just in my mind. Just in my mind. M-Y, my, not mine, mind. My mind. Good, excellent. Just in your mind. So they're in your mind, but you haven't started yet. Well, you need to start. Start. This is a good time to start. Yeah, I'm from Barbados, from the Caribbean. Yeah, from the Caribbean. Rihanna, you know Rihanna? Rihanna's from Barbados. So she was born in Barbados in the Caribbean, but of course she's living in the United States. So yeah, she's from the same country that I'm from. Yeah. Great. So, Christina, anything that you did in the past that you're not doing now? Any hobbies that you did before? That is dancing, what you did, what, listen to music, maybe you did some gardening as well. Any hobbies you did in the past that you don't do now? Again, in the past, apart from music production, I used to sing a lot. I used to perform. I was a singer as well, but now I don't. It's a different country, it's a different atmosphere, different language, so it's a little different. So I used to sing, but I don't anymore as well. All right, cool. So, Christina, I'll give you time to respond and we'll get back to it. But let's look at number four. This is an interesting question. So, are you an adrenaline junkie? Are you an adrenaline junkie? What is an adrenaline junkie? So, an adrenaline junkie is someone who loves maybe adventurous stuff, people that love to take risks, people that love to do things that could be dangerous or come close to danger. That's an adrenaline junkie. They have a lot of energy, a lot of adrenaline to push them to make a lot of risks or take a lot of risks rather, take risks and to do a lot of dangerous things. So Daniela, ooh, I used to do dancing, acting, and recently I did Latin dance, but now I just do yoga. So now I just do yoga. You don't have to use keep. Now I just do yoga. Good, excellent. I forgot another hobby of mine was dancing as well. I did Latin dancing in Barbados as well, but now, of course, I don't do Latin dancing. So I used to do Latin dancing for quite a few years in Barbados, but now I don't anymore. Cool, so we've got another dancer in the house. Christina says she was an adrenaline junkie when she was a teenager, but not anymore. Excellent example. So you used to do a lot of dangerous stuff, or you used to take a lot of risks. I wonder what some of these activities are. Give me some activities, Christina. What are some of the activities that made you an adrenaline junkie? Did you do rock climbing? Did you do bungee jumping? What about skydiving? What did you used to do? Maybe leave your house when you were a teenager without your parents' permission. Yeah. Cool. So Daniela says, oh, yeah, she loves the bachata, but for now, I stopped doing it. Yeah, I stopped doing it. You have to use the ing form. Cool. I used to do a lot of salsa, cha-cha-cha, merengue, those kind of Latin dances. I didn't do the bachata. But let me see. Yeah, I did a little bit of the ballroom dancing too, but I don't really like ballroom dancing. It's boring to me. I like the more exciting dances. Yeah, merengue, salsa. We used to do the lambada as well, the lambada. But I know it was banned in certain countries, especially for competition. But yeah, I love dancing. I miss it. I really, really do. I really, really do. Yeah. So for me, I am not really an adrenaline junkie per se. I don't like to take a lot of those risks that a lot of people take, like rock climbing and bungee jumping. One thing I would like to do is skydiving. I would like to jump out of a plane. Skydiving. I would love to. But generally, I am not an adrenaline junkie, not even when I was younger. So we use doing because in this case, it's used as a gerund. I like, I like doing or I like to do bungee jumping. I like doing bungee jumping. So you can either use the infinitive or you can use the gerund, the in form. Both are correct. So in this case, you're using the infinitive with to, but you use the bare infinitive. So for example, you have here, you said for now I stopped to do it. Here we have to use the ing form. I stopped doing it because it's an action. It's a long action. Normally when it's an activity, in this case, you use doing. So I stopped doing dance. I stopped doing dance or I stopped dancing because it's an activity. It's a long activity, so we use the ing form in this case. So that's why we use the ing form and not the infinitive. Stop to do it? No, stopped doing it. Or if you have the name of the activity and you can say, I stopped dancing, and that's also a gerund ing form. Good, excellent. So Christina says, you used to go camping. So I used to go camping with friends. I played basketball at school. Excellent. Excellent. Very, very good. So I used to go camping. Always remember used to, uh, because it's something you did regularly in the past. I played basketball at school. Excellent. Cool. Some cool activities. Jumping on the trees. Yeah. In this case, climbing. Climbing trees. Climbing. Climbing trees. Yeah, when I was younger, I used to climb trees. Yeah, when I was younger. So climb trees. So climb is the action to climb, not jumping on trees. Climbing trees. Yeah, cool. Excellent. So Daniela says, after the quarantine, maybe we could try to return uh, return to dancing. Yeah, or return doing it. Or we can say we can restart it. Yeah, you can say restart as well. Return doing it is correct as well, but we normally say restart it or restart doing it. Yeah, or return doing it. Both are correct. Excellent. So maybe we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll join a club, a dance club at some point if I have any time. Good. So number four, I'm not an adrenaline junkie. Normally, I prefer something more quieter, something more reserved, taking so many risks. It's not my kind of style. Excellent job, ladies. So we looked at hobbies, we looked at these questions, we looked at the vocabulary as well. We looked at take up. Take up is a phrasal verb for to start something. We looked at used to, or before used to, we had tend to, which is something we use in place of usually or normally. It's basically the same. We also had used to for things we did in the past, normally, hobbies we had in the past. And of course, an adrenaline junkie is someone who takes risk and does a lot of things. Maybe they have a lot of energy and they want to take a lot of risk and do things that are more adventurous. Excellent. So let's move on. So here we're looking at interests. We've got four categories: adrenaline junkie, outdoorsy, leisure, and sports. So we're looking at these types of activities and putting them into the correct category. So we've got hunting, skydiving, rowing, fishing, collecting, kayaking, gardening, bowling, paddleboarding, bungee jumping, windsurfing, knitting, hiking, paragliding, fencing, and rock climbing. So quite a few activities we have here. A lot of sporty activities. So let's put them in the correct category. So we've got adrenaline junkie, outdoor, leisure, and sports. So remember, we've got adrenaline junkie, meaning sports or activities that take a lot of risks, are very energetic. Outdoorsy could be things you do outdoors, activities you like doing outdoors. Leisure, more relaxed, not so energetic. And sports, of course, many different sports you can do. So let's put them in the correct category. So let's look at number one, hunting. Hunting. What category would you put hunting in? Daniela, Christina, can you tell me which category can you put hunting in? Is it adrenaline junkie, outdoorsy, leisure, or sports? This is an interesting one. Hunting. So remember, hunting, if you guys know, is when you go out looking for animals, maybe for food. Maybe you're doing it for sport. You know, some people do it as a sport. They go to kill animals in the forest. I'm not a big fan of it, but people do it as an activity. I have a friend who actually does hunting in the United States, and he hunts deer. Deer, yeah, those cute little creatures. Okay, so Christina says skydiving. Okay, we're looking at hunting first. So let's look at hunting. So hunting would be outdoor. So outdoorsy. So it's an outdoor activity you do in the forest or jungle or outside. You're looking for animals, maybe to collect them or to kill them for food. So hunting is outdoorsy. Excellent, Daniela. Christina says skydiving is adrenaline junkie. Excellent. So I want to do skydiving. I'm not an adrenaline junkie. It's something that I really wanted to do because I'm so infatuated or so interested in the sky and planes and yeah. So I'm interested in flying. That's my love. I love to fly. So I worked on in an airline with an airline as a flight attendant. So that was very exciting for me. I love anything to do with the sky, with flying. So skydiving is one of those activities I would love to do. So adrenaline junkie usually does a sky activity like skydiving, but I'm not really an adrenaline junkie. It's for a different reason. So let's look at rowing. Rowing. So rowing. So you normally row in a boat. There's a sport of rowing. Maybe you're rowing in a boat, maybe a kayak. Yeah, rowing. Which category? Adrenaline junkie, outdoorsy, leisure, or sports? Meow. This one could be a little tricky too. Rowing. Any of you guys know? Rowing. So rowing would be in the category of sports. So it's a sport, it's a competitive sport. Normally there are competitions, different teams do rowing, maybe on a lake, maybe in the sea. It depends on which type of boat you're using. Excellent. So casino rowing is sports. Very good. Now let's look at fishing. Fishing. Fishing, Christina says, is outdoorsy. Correct. Fishing is an outdoor activity. I went fishing. I used to go fishing with my sister's father because we don't have the same father, because he was a fisherman and a diver. So I used to go fishing with him and my sister out in the sea. And that was fun as well. So that's outdoorsy. Let's look at collecting. So collecting, it could be anything. Could be collecting stamps, could be collecting money from all over the world, like as a souvenir. Maybe you're collecting books. Maybe it could be collecting many different things. So collecting, Christina says, is leisure. Excellent. It's not as energy driven. You don't have to use a lot of energy. You don't have to be adrenaline junkie to do collecting. Collecting is a more, more relaxed kind of activity. I used to collect stamps from letters, the stamps from different parts of the world. I used to collect stamps, but then afterwards I just started to lose interest. But yeah, collecting is a leisure activity. So Christina says kayaking. Kayaking is outdoorsy. So kayaking is not quite an adrenaline junkie activity. It's not very risky. It's not a big risk to do kayaking. Kayaking is similar to like rowing or fishing. It's an outdoorsy activity. Some people do it as a sport as well, but generally it's not a very competitive sport. It's more of an outdoorsy kind of sport. Adrenaline junkie, not so much. It's not very risk taking. It's not very risky sport. Not a lot of danger associated with it. Maybe if you did kayaking or rowing on a river that has a waterfall or a very strong river, then it might be an adrenaline junkie because it's more dangerous. But if you're rowing in a normal, calm lake or maybe a normal river that's not very strong, then it's more of an outdoorsy activity. Yeah. Now let's look at gardening. So as I mentioned, I've taken up the hobby of gardening recently. And what particular category would you put gardening in? No problem, Daniela. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. I hope you learned a little something. See you soon. Stay tuned. Bye. See you later. Okay, so Christina, what category would you put gardening in? Gardening. Is it adrenaline junkie, outdoorsy, leisure, or sports? So gardening is leisure. Excellent. Very, very good. Leisure. Gardening is calm. It's relaxing. You don't have to use a lot of energy. So let's look at bowling. I think you guys have some bowling alleys here in Italy. I've seen one or two. Bowling. Normally, bowling is a very American sport. Hi, Ricardo. Welcome. Where have you been hiding? Excellent. So gardening is leisure. Yeah, you and Christina were correct. What about bowling? So bowling, you said sports. Okay, let's see. Bowling is more leisure. Yeah, sports are leisure. Excellent, Ricardo. So generally, it's a leisure sport. It's a leisure sport, but it's also a sport, a leisure activity, but also a sport because there are competitions as well. So it can be both bowling and it can be not bowling. It can be a leisure activity or a sports activity. Cool. All right, excellent, Christina. So let's look at paddle boarding. Paddleboarding. I think paddleboarding has been it wasn't as popular before, but now it's a lot more popular, especially in my country. It wasn't very popular in Barbados, in the Caribbean, but now it has become a lot more popular. So how would we describe paddleboarding? Is it an adrenaline junkie sport or activity, or is it outdoorsy, or is it a sport, leisure? Which one is it? So it's a water sport. Yeah, you do it in the sea, but not necessarily only a sport. Yeah, it can be a sport, but also for leisure, because a lot of people now do paddleboarding for leisure as well. So it can be sport or leisure as well. It's a water sport, basically. Okay, now let's look at bungee jumping. For me, I would never do bungee jumping. I think it's too much of a risk for me. Skydiving, okay, but bungee jumping for me, I think is a little more dangerous. And probably not as safe as skydiving. What category? Adrenaline junkie, outdoorsy, leisure, sports? Which one would you put it in? Bungee jumping. So Ricardo or Christina, You guys have any ideas? So Christina says bungee jumping is adrenaline junkie. Yep. People with very, very adventurous type personalities tend to do bungee jumping, but it's too much for me. I can't, too dangerous for me. All right, let's look at windsurfing. Windsurfing. There are a lot of windsurfers in my country. We love windsurfing, especially on the eastern side of our island. It's the Atlantic Ocean, so it's very, very strong, the winds. So we do a lot of windsurfing in Barbados as well. So what category? Adrenaline junkie, outdoorsy, sports, or leisure? So sport is correct. So windsurfing is also a sport. Yeah, people do it for fun, maybe, but most people do it as a sport, as a competitive sport. Now let's look at knitting. From one extreme to the next. So we got windsurfing to knitting. You guys know what knitting is, right? Knitting. Toop, 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 toop. So you have two needles, big needles, and you take some wool. Normally you will see the grandmothers or the older women doing knitting. Yeah, they knit maybe a sweater. They knit a sweater or they knit something decorative with wool. So that is knitting. So is that leisure, sports, outdoorsy, or adrenaline? Knitting. And remember, the K is silent. Any words that begin with KN, the K is usually silent. So we just use the second letter, which is N. So knitting. So which one is knitting? Leisure. Excellent. Leisure for knitting. So knitting is a very relaxed activity. That's why you'll find a lot of older people in it because it doesn't take a lot of energy. You can sit and you can take your time and do it, and it's relaxing as well, therapeutic as well, especially for the older people. I mean, a lot of younger people do it too, but it's more common among the older population. All right, let's look at hiking. Hiking now. So adrenaline junkie, outdoorsy, leisure, or sports. Hiking. There's also another word for hiking, close word for hiking. It's called trekking. Trekking or hiking. You can use them interchangeably. So basically, there's like walking, a lot of walking, maybe up mountains, up hills, cliffs, that kind of stuff. Hiking or trekking. It's a sport. It can be not necessarily a sport because it's not competitive. It's not a competition, not really. So it's more of an outdoorsy activity. People don't really have hiking competitions. So hiking is more of an outdoors activity. Yeah. A lot of people do it because they want to stay fit, they want to exercise, they want to stay healthy. So they do it as an outdoor activity, or as you said, Ricardo, for leisure as well. But yeah, it's for leisure, but mainly to stay healthy. To stay healthy. All right, paragliding. We have a lot of this in the tropics as well. In the sea, they do a lot of paragliding. That's paragliding or parasailing. Paragliding. Paragliding is a different, yeah, there are lots of paras. There's paragliding, parasailing. Parasailing is on the sea. You have a big parachute and it's attached to a boat. That's parasailing. Paragliding now is when you probably jump off of a mountain or a cliff with like you hold on to it and it's like a kite and you glide from off the cliff or the mountain into the air and then you come down to earth, whatever. That's paragliding. So paragliding is for adrenaline junkie. You guys know it. Christina Ricardo. Have you guys done paragliding? Yeah, it's a very adrenaline sport, an adrenaline type sport. Yeah, exactly. Good, excellent. Adrenalytic. I've never used that adjective. Adrenalytic. Let's see if it's correct. Adrenalytic. Adrenalytic. Adjective for adrenaline. So I'll just adrenalytic as an adjective. Just give me a moment. Adrenalytic. Maybe it's common in Italian, but maybe not. I don't think it's a word. I think basically you would say it's an adrenaline sport, basically. Adrenaline would be the adjective in this case. So it's a very adrenaline type of sport, or it's an adrenaline sport, basically. Cool, I haven't done it either, and maybe I might think about doing it, but it's not always the safest, but I can possibly think about doing it. So fencing, we look at fencing. So paragliding is more of an adrenaline activity. And fencing, as Ricardo says, is more of a sport. It's not really done uh, per se for leisure. Maybe some people do it for leisure, but technically it's a sport. Yeah, fencing with the swords is a sport. And let's look at the last one. We've got rock climbing. I would never do this either. Rock climbing. So what is it? Rock climbing, adrenaline junkie, outdoorsy, leisure, sports. What is it? Of course, it's something that I don't want to do. For me, it's a bigger risk. Well, I mean, you have equipment available. You have a harness and stuff, but for me, I don't like it. So Ricardo says Italy has a big tradition of fencing. So Italy, yeah, has a big tradition of fencing. You have to use of and not on fencing. Of fencing. Cool, interesting. So I didn't know that Italy was famous for fencing. Excellent. So for the last one, you said rock climbing adrenaline junkie. Yeah, it's quite dangerous, right? Excellent. So it's a very adrenaline type of sport. It's not the safest, and it's normal for people who are into adventure and adventurous stuff. So correct, good, excellent job, guys. So for adrenaline activities, you've got skydiving, bungee jumping, paragliding, and rock climbing. Of course, all of them are outdoor activities, but they're more specifically adventurous activities. While outdoorsy is more like hunting, fishing, kayaking, and hiking. They're not necessarily competitive, nor they're not necessarily adrenaline sports. They're more of activities you do outdoors. Yeah. Leisure, we've got collecting, gardening, bowling, and knitting. These are more relaxing activities. They don't take a lot of energy. So they're more leisure activities. You can stay at home and do them. And of course, finally, sports, we've got rowing, paddleboarding, windsurfing, and fencing. These are more competitive sports than they are leisure activities. But of course, some of these activities can cross over into each category depending on what they are. So Ricardo says, very famous, fencing is very famous in Italy, especially for Olympic Games. And Italy wins a lot of medals in fencing. So Ricardo, it's very famous in Italy, uh, especially for the Olympic Games. At the Olympic Games, Italy wins a lot of medals in fencing. So remember the plural. Italy, third person, wins uh, many medals or a lot of medals in fencing. Good, cool. I didn't know that. You taught me something today. So great. So these are the interests and their categories. Now let's move on. Let's look at ambitions. So I want you to look at this text, and I want you to fill in the blanks with the correct form. Is it for or is it since? And of course, we have the verbs in brackets as well. We have the positive and the negative of the verbs. So I want you to use for and since as well as the correct form of the verb. So remember, we use for or since with the present perfect tense. So remember, for is for duration or period of time, and since is for a specific time. So remember, for time. Yeah. So we've got for for a period of time. You can say like for 4 years, for 5 hours, and since for a specific time, since 1995, since 2004. So let's begin. Let's fill in the blanks. So we've got Christina says, for number one, we say 4. Okay, so I have been running for 3 years. Excellent. So I have been running for 3 years because we have a duration, a period of time. We have 3 years. So we use 4. Okay, I usually train with my friend. We, Ricardo says, run 10 half marathons and 1 marathon. Good. So we use have run in this case because remember, we're looking at the present perfect. So we have run 10 marathons and 1 marathon. So in this case, we're talking about an action that started in the past and is still true to the present. So this person is still running half marathons. So we use the present perfect. It started in the past and they continue until now. So we use the present perfect. So it's have run. We have run 10 half marathons and 1 marathon since, correct, excellent, since we started. So since we started is a specific time because you started in a specific time. It's not a duration of time, it's a specific moment. So we use since. Excellent, guys, very, very good. So let's continue. Now we are training for our second marathon. I feel that I struggle with my training. So what do we use here? What form do we use here? We use the present perfect. So Christina, you're correct. Have struggles. We have plus the past participle. Good. Remember the past participle of run is run. So we've got run, ran, run. So the past participle is the same as the infinitive of the verb. So correct, I feel that I have struggled with my training. So they started struggling in the past and they continue to struggle. So we use present perfect. Excellent, good. Let's continue. I don't like to run alone, but my friend, we have the negative, not have time to train with me recently. So I don't like to run alone, but my friend, we have the negative, not have time to train with me recently. So how do we form it? How do we form the present perfect in this case? We have the negative and the verb to have. This one can be a little tricky as well. But always remember the structure. You've got have or has plus the past participle or the negative, have or has plus not plus the past participle. So what would be the answer here? So I don't like to run alone, but my friend not have time to train with me recently. Okay, let's see. Hasn't, not didn't, because didn't is the past simple negative. We're looking at the present perfect in this case. We don't use didn't or did. We use have or has plus the negative. So we have hasn't had. So here we have the verb to have, to start the present perfect. Then we have the main verb, which is to have, and the negative. So my friend hasn't had, time to train with me recently. So always remember the form of the present perfect. We have has, have, haven't, hasn't, plus the past participle of the verb. And in this case, the main verb is have, so the past participle of have is had. So hasn't had. And my friend will be third person, so we have to use hasn't. Cool. Very good, Christina. I realized you got that from the beginning. So remember, Ricardo, you have to use have or has in this case. If it's did or didn't, it's the past simple. Normally, the Americans use the past simple while the British use the present perfect, but both are correct. Yeah, but in this case, we're using the present perfect. So let's continue. My aspiration is to finish in under 5 hours, but I'm afraid I won't reach my goal. So here we have aspiration. Aspiration is like the same of my objective. My objective is to finish in under 5 hours, My aspiration is to finish in under 5 hours. It's like a synonym. You can use both. Good. I'm happy you understand, Ricardo. Excellent, guys. So we looked at, let's go back quickly. So we looked at different types of hobbies. We looked at using a phrasal verb like take up, which means to start. Again, we looked at tend to, which is similar to usually or normally. We looked at used to do or used to, which is something you did in the past, but you don't anymore. And adrenaline junkie, of course, we talked about it, someone who likes to take risks and do adventurous things. We also looked at the different categories for different activities. I want you to practice those activities and remember what type of activities there are. Are they leisure? Are they sports, outdoorsy? Are they adrenaline activities? And of course, we looked at using for and since. Remember, we use for in the present perfect for a period of time, a length of time, while we look at since for a specific time, like a year or a time, a specific date, we use since. So remember also the form of the present perfect. The present perfect is used for an action that started in the past and that continues until now in the present, or it's an action that, or it's an experience that you would have had in your life. And remember that your life is not complete yet, so you'll continue to have those experiences. So we use the present perfect. And of course, we use the present perfect with just to represent something that has finished in the recent past, something that has just been completed in the recent past. So always practice using the present perfect, using for and since, because it's very important to conversation, but more specifically in writing. We tend to use the present perfect a lot in writing as well. But for ease of conversation, we tend to use the past simple. So both can be used, present perfect or past simple. Excellent, guys. I hope you had a good time in our webinar today with you guys, Christina, Ricardo. Earlier we had Daniela, and of course all the others who have been watching. Thanks for staying tuned to my webinars, and of course continue to stay tuned and improve your English. Once again, I'm Andre. See you later. See you next time, and enjoy your evening. Have a great dinner as well. Bye bye. See you later.